Hello, my name is Russ Martin. This video is for LivRight, and it's about Jake Gullo, my public defender, the attorney. The first point I want to make to you is that your public defenders are not public defenders, they're prosecutors. They are there to induce you into pleading guilty. I saw other men during my 4 years of going into court discharging their public defenders. I presume these public defenders were violating those defendants' fiduciary responsibilities that an attorney has with their client. For me, Jake Gullo did more than violate his fiduciary responsibilities to me. He committed criminal crimes of manifesting false witness statements, 2 of them with multiple statements in these witness statements to induce me to plead guilty. He also refused to demand the public police videos to get them as evidence. What I wanted and what I told him is I wanted the videos of the conversation between the policeman and Robert Moose. He would not go after these videos, refused to go get them. Also, he was definitely stonewalling with the court system, extenuating the elements out to weaken me. It was a tactic to weaken me. But stonewalling that time destroys my income because now I'm discovering that the legal system is criminal and corrupt. And I'm having to take charge of defending myself, writing documents, documenting everything. After they had conversations, I demanded that they, here's what it was so long ago. Jake Gullo got up and I was telling him I wish I had the phone number and name of the guy that was sitting next to me. I didn't know what his name was. I didn't know who he was. Jake gets up and leaves his office and he leaves documents on his desk. And on there I realize he has the name and phone numbers of the 2 witnesses, Ken Soul and Chris Adamson. Chris Adamson was the guy sitting next to me. So I realize he has them, and I write down the guy's name, Chris Adamson. I didn't trust this other guy, Ken Soul. He was a good friend of Robert Moose. So I now have his name. But I tell Jake, I go, you have these 2 guys' names. Why aren't you calling them and taking witness statements? He goes about the process of doing that now because I challenged him on it. And he gets the state investigator with him, this guy named Tony Worthman. They take these false statements, then they start to grill me. They call me in for a meeting, and I'm reading them. And these statements, and they're specifically by Chris, it states that I initiated the fight, I attacked Robert Moose, and I antagonized him. And then a whole slew of other things. And I knew I didn't do these things. So it meant that my public defender was a liar. Well, he has these all typed out, and they're on documents of the state of Nevada, documents. So I grabbed the 2 of them, I fold them up, I put them in my pocket, and then I tell Jake, man, you are in trouble. You have no clue what you just did. I was so happy at that moment. So all I had to do was go and find Chris Adamson. But before they gave me this, they told me that I couldn't have any conversation with the witnesses, that I was sequestered from talking with them. Well, I pleaded no contest. And the reason that was is I filed for the discharge of Jake Gullo and Tony Worthman and Katrina Ross, because Katrina Ross came on as a manager because I was telling the judge I was distrusting Jake Gullo. Well, then I get all of this and I go back into the judge and I tell the judge, which is Judge Michael Villiani, I think Villiani, I tell him I think that these documents I have are falsified, and that I had talked with somebody in the courthouse on my way to court, and she reported that these public defenders could lose their license. Well, the judge says to me, "You're a liar. I think you're a liar." I said, "No, I've got the documents." "No, I think you're a liar, Mr. Martin." And I said to him, I go, "Listen." He goes, "Who told you that?" He says, "Who told you that?" I said, "A nice looking attorney lady, but it doesn't matter. I already know it. I know it." He goes, "Who's that attorney?" And I said, "I'll go find her." He goes, "You're a liar." And I'm thinking, why am I having this type of a conversation? Why is he calling me a liar? And what is he not doing? He's not concerned that these two documents, he's concerned about this attorney in the courthouse that had given me knowledge that these guys could lose their license to practice law. Well, I already know this. I'm not an idiot. But he's not doing anything. Now I realize that I'm in a criminal courthouse. That the integrity of this whole courtroom is being controlled by some business model that is obstructing justice, that is obstructing due process of law and justice. It's not about justice, it's about making me plead guilty. And I have no defense. It doesn't matter what, I've just given proof of documents and knowledge that I didn't commit this crime. They don't care. So I plead no contest. I can't fight anymore. I was so deeply messed up in the head. So I figured during the 30 days, I'd go and hunt this guy down, Chris Adamson. And this is what I did. I went and I hunted down Chris Adamson. I get him. And I filled out this document that I created, and I asked him, "Did you say this? Did you say this? And did you say this?" And it was a yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And you can see it below in public records. And then the events that happened on that day, he filled out. Which, believe it or not, 2 years later, he still remembered. He was my savior. This guy, Chris Adamson, saved my life. So, I go back to court and I change my plead from no contest to not guilty. I get that done. And I had a new public defender. He was an outside public defender. We complete that. But then the judge, Judge Michael Vigliani, calls him up to court, up to the bench. Prior to this, Carl Arnold, who was my outside public defender, was telling me, we'll have this thing wrapped up in 30 days. We'll be all done. They'll drop the charges. We'll be finished with this. This is horse shit. He goes up to the bench, comes out of that, and after that, he never had a word with me again. Every time I called him to check to see if he was doing something, he wouldn't communicate. I had to fire him. I discharged him. The court took control of him. The judge and the business model that was being directed by the judge, and the judge is being directed by Steve Wolfson, the district attorney. The man who hires Steve Wolfson is the state attorney general, Aaron Ford. And who handles Aaron Ford? Joe Lombardo, Sheriff McMahill. This is where the leadership comes from. I didn't know all of those little parts at that time. I'm just trying to defend myself. We're at about 2.5 years in now. So the next part of this will be some of the other public defenders I was dealing with. And then we'll get on with also the attorney. More details on Judge Michael Vigliani. Man, clear and transparent. Keywords, clear and transparent. Anyway, if you're listening to this and you get Jake Gullo as an attorney or anything in the legal business, discharge him. He's listed in LivRight. You file a notice of motion and say, I don't want Jake Gullo. He's out. This man doesn't belong practicing law until he brings a lawsuit against the state of Nevada for manipulating him into performing as a Nazi of the Fourth Reich legal system. He's being manipulated, and so was Katrina Ross. I have to do a video on her. She was just as guilty. And Tony Worthman. All of these guys have to be addressed. Thank you.